StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to deepen your depth of knowledge. Before we get into this, I remind everybody, I send out a text every day, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point. I call it the Daily Motivation. I send one out every week that does the same. It's called the Monday Motivation. Join my text community for free so you'll be eligible to get these messages. My number is 305-384-6894. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is the only place that I do any coaching. I have a 4-part framework that is based around mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability. I've coached people from finance folks to thought leaders to people who run auto detailing businesses to authors to professional speakers to people who are transitioning out of the military to athletes transitioning out of sports into the entrepreneurial world, and to a whole bunch of people in between, people who have brick and mortar retail shops, and people who run their own offices, people who work in corporations. I've coached a lot of different people. The reason why I can coach so many different people is because our framework, first of all, is universal in that way. And secondly, you listen to the show, don't you? All right, I can break down anything and put it into bite-sized pieces for anyone to understand, apply, and implement in a way in which they will get a result. That's literally my master skill, is to be able to, once I understand something, I can break it down and put it back together in a way that anyone can use it and actually get results from it. That's the reason why the Work on Your Game framework is designed the way it is. We start with the mentality, then we go to the plan of action, then we go to the process that can operate that plan of action over and over again, and then there's the accountability to hold everything together. That is our framework. That is how it works, and that's what we do at Work on Your Game University. You listen to the show enough, you know. I'm the type of person you will want working with you, or you're the type of person who wants to work with me directly, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can see all the details about what we're doing, and you can schedule a time to get on a call with us, because nobody joins our program without getting on a call with us. The call is completely free of charge. We got to make sure that, first of all, you be a good fit for what we're doing. Secondly, that we can actually help you. And third, we'll tell you how it works and how to get started. Again, that's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. That out the way, let's get into today's topic, which is how to deepen your depth of knowledge. Now, who doesn't want to be smarter in the areas in which it matters for you? I mean, maybe some of you don't want to be smarter in areas that are not important to you, but in areas that actually matter, things that you do professionally, things that make you money. You probably want to go as deep in those areas as you can. And I would suggest that you do have that desire, because the deeper you can go, the more valuable you become, and thus the more you can command in the marketplace because of the value that you bring to the table. So I would suggest that you take me up on this offer of telling you how to do this here today. Because everyone who's ambitious in what they're doing probably wants this, but you may not know exactly how to go about it, especially those you want to achieve at a high level at a specific thing. So today, we're going to talk about how to go deeper in your depth of knowledge in any particular space, with respect to the fact that you can't be deep at everything. So even though you might think you could just go apply this to everything, you really can't, because you don't have the resources, specifically the time and attention. Point number one, today's topic, once again, how to deepen your depth of knowledge. Number one, open a fucking book and read it. Number one thing you can do to deepen your depth of knowledge is open a fucking book and read it. There was a movie called Catch Me If You Can with, I believe it was Leonardo DiCaprio was playing it was based on a real life story. And I forget the guy's name the story was based on. His name may come to me in a second. But in this story, this guy was basically he just had this psychological disorientation, I guess, for lack of a better term, where he would go around and he would impersonate certain people. He was really good at it, to where he actually got away with it. He did some fraudulent things, and the FBI and the authorities were all after him. They finally did catch the guy. But there was a scene in the movie where this guy, and I forget his real name, it was based on a real story, but Leo DiCaprio was the actor. And in one scene in the movie, this guy decided that he was going to impersonate a college professor. He did this. He impersonated a college professor for an entire semester. He showed up to class every day that there was class, and he taught an entire class for an entire semester. And no one ever found him out during the process that he was doing this. And when the authorities finally caught him, they asked him, how were you? We get all the other things that you impersonated, like you can impersonate being a cop or a security guard or working at a bank or something like that. We get how you could get away with that, but how the hell could you impersonate teaching a class for an entire semester? Maybe you get away with it for one day, but an entire semester teaching a class, how were you able to get away with that? And the guy, he said, well, easy. I just read one chapter ahead from where the rest of the class was. And this is the simple but true point that I want you all to understand. I told you about this a few episodes ago, that if you were to read, let me say my point first, and I'll tell you what I told you a couple episodes back. If you were just to crack open some books and read them, you would have more knowledge than most people, because most people don't read. I told you there are three harsh truths about human beings that you should understand. People don't read, people don't think, and people are lazy. And you should make sure that those things never apply to you. Do the opposite of those three things. And most people, all three apply. Don't think, don't read, and they're lazy. I told you a few episodes back that if you were to read 20 books on any one subject, I don't care what the subject is, you read 20 books on any one subject, you will know more than 98% of people on the planet with regards to that subject, including people who allegedly do that subject, whatever it is, for a living. So you read 20 books on the human body, you'll know more than most personal trainers. Read 20 books on the auto mechanic industry, or how cars work, you'll know more than most people who actually work in auto mechanics. Read 20 books on HVAC air conditioning systems, you'll know more than most people who actually work as maintenance men fixing air conditioning systems. Most people don't read anything. They get enough information and enough knowledge that they can do their job and get paid and get their paycheck, but they don't go any deeper than that. 20 books, you will have gone way deeper than almost everybody. The topics that you hear me talk about a lot here on the show, I've read 20, 50, 100 books on these subjects. That's the reason why I can talk about them with the authority that I can. Is not just because everything I say comes straight out of a book, because if that was the case, I wouldn't need to be here. I would just tell you the books and it'd be over. It's because I combine what I learned from the books with my own thinking, my own experience, and my own knowledge, things that I've learned in my own life, and also my perspective from looking at them, and then I create my own material. That's how I'm able to create so much. It's not just me thinking up everything out of nowhere. I combine it with other things that I consume and take in from other people. So if you were to open a book, again, just one book, and read it, you'd be ahead of a lot of people. You open 20 books, you'd be ahead of damn near everybody. So when I say open a book, I mean information-based books, all right? Not some stupid shit, not some rapper wrote a memoir. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about an actual book with some real information inside of it. The most in-depth knowledge that exists in the universe, folks, is and has always been and will always be the written word. Let me say that sentence again. The most in-depth knowledge that exists in the universe is, has always been, and will always be in the form of the written word. Not a documentary, not a YouTube video, not an Instagram post. It is in a book. There's an old saying that says, if you want to hide something from people, put it in a book, because they will never look for it there. So if any of you got any cash, actual cash, I'm not talking about a debit card, but you have actual cash in your home laying around and you want to keep it safe and make sure nobody ever breaks into your house and steals it, take all the money and just hide it inside the pages of some books. The robbers will never look there, and they will never steal it. Somebody breaks into your house, they'll take your TV, they'll take your PlayStation, they'll take your laptops, they'll take all your whatever material good trinkets that you have. They won't steal the books. Your whole bookshelf will be intact if some robbers ever break into your house. All right, so hide all your money inside the books. How many books have you read in the last 12 months? How many books have you read in the last 12 months? How many books have you purchased in the last 30 days? How many pages of a book have you read in the last week? How many books have you read more than once? How many books have you heard someone who you respect mention that book, and then you went out and got the book right after you heard about it? Those questions right there will stump. I could stump 99 out of 100 people with those questions that I just posed. Inconvenient truth is, most people can't answer any of those questions, let alone one of them. They can't answer, what did I say? Any of those questions, let alone all of them. Better way of saying that. The answers are all pretty much a whole bunch of zeros and none. This is the reason why most people don't have a depth of knowledge about anything, even the things that they allegedly do as a profession, things that they get paid to do, they have no knowledge of it because they don't read. Only thing people have knowledge of is a bunch of bullshit, like some reality TV show, what rapper is in conflict with another rapper, or arguing about your favorite entertainers on social media in the comment section. All right, this is why most people don't achieve shit, because they don't put anything in. You don't put anything in, you don't get anything out. Open up a book and read it, folks. Amazon has all the books. Audible, you don't even have to sit and look at the book. You can listen to the book. Audible, you can get audiobooks. You can go to, what's the other form? You got digital books, you got physical books. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I guess some days you probably got authors out there. I don't know of them specifically, but there's probably some authors out there who will YouTube their whole book. They'll write a book, then they'll get on YouTube and they'll read the whole book to you. All you gotta do is watch their YouTube channel. I'm sure there's someone out there who's done that. Now they can't make the money probably that they want off that unless they're just going off the ad revenue or they get their videos sponsored and stuff like that. And I bet that's something that will be even more popular moving forward. The video version and the audio version of the book. You ain't even gotta listen. You can watch the YouTube video. Those of you addicted to YouTube, you can watch the video, but read a damn book. All right, that's the point. You want to be deeper in your knowledge of any subject, read some books on the subject. Every subject that is worth anything, where i.e. people are making money off of it, there are a whole bunch of books written on that subject. You need to read them. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to deepen your depth of knowledge. Number 2, go further backwards. When I say go further backwards, I mean in history, in time. Go further backwards. Learn things that existed before your time or before your mental frame of reference. I recently read someone say that most people's mental frame of reference goes by about the time they were age 15. And it goes, by about the time they were age 15 moving forward. Anything before that, they pretty much don't know about it. And some people who may be a little bit exceptional might be able to go 10 to 15 years back from the date that they were born. So you're born in the year 2000. Your frame of reference might go back to maybe 1985. Anything before that is like, the Stone Age. It's like when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And most people can't even go that far. Your memory starts around about the time you were age 15, and that's pretty much all you know. So if you're born in the year 2000, you pretty much know and remember stuff from about 2015 to now. So if I mention something that happened in 2005, you're like, damn, that was a long time ago. Right? That's how most people think. And what I'm suggesting is that you go backwards, go further backward. And I'm going to tell you why to do this. You're not doing this just to do it. I'm telling you to go and find out about stuff that came out before you came out. So if you are under the age of 30, listening to this right now, you only know a world in which the internet always existed. I'm suggesting you go back to a time before the internet existed and find out how people communicated then. Find out how someone like myself, who is selling books or courses or programs, which this was existing 100 years ago. People were selling books, courses, and programs, by the way. For those of you who don't know, you think this is new. It's not new. It didn't come out when fucking Shopify and ClickFunnels came out. No, they've been out way before that. People were selling books, courses, programs, etc. without the internet. Find out how they were able to sell them. Think about how good of a salesperson you had to be if you were selling a course in 1930. And in order for somebody to buy your course, they couldn't just click a button on their phone and have immediate access to it. They had to read your sales letter, which was literally a letter on paper, decide that they want to buy it. The price is right there on the page. They had to decide they want to buy it. They had to write a check. Some of y'all don't know what writing a check even means. Ask your parents. Write a check for the amount of the course. They had to fill out the order form that said, here's my name, here's my address, where you have to send it to. They had to actually write this with a pen, where to send the course. They had to put the check in a letter, in an envelope with the letter, with the order form. They had to mail that in to somebody, wait 5 to 7 days for the letter and the check, or the order form and the check to get to the person that they were buying from, let the check get cashed, then wait for the course to get mailed back to them. This was like a 2-3 week process from the time that you made the decision to buy to when you actually got access to the thing. And this is the way commerce happened if someone was selling something like a course back in the day. Now, I want you to ask yourself the following question. I'm not saying you need to go back to doing this. What I'm saying is, how good of a salesperson did that person have to be, as opposed to somebody these days who you can just get somebody to click one time and their Face ID makes the purchase for them. They don't even have to go find their credit card number. It's a lot more convenient to make a sale these days. It's a lot easier to make a sale because it can be an impulse purchase for people. Back then, when you had to send in a letter in the mail and you had to write a check, and you had to wait for the check to clear, you had to balance your checkbook and all of that stuff, and there was no way to electronically check if they took the money out or any of that. You know how hard it was to make a sale as compared to how it is these days? You know how good of a salesperson that person had to be as opposed to what we got to do today? Now, I'm giving you all that to say this. Those people had to be really, really good at sales. What books were they reading? Those are the books you need to be reading, because it's way easier to do it now than it was then, but they were still doing it. So how were they doing it? They were really good. That's the point. And a lot of the principles of what they were doing back then are still being applied today. They're just being given new names and new titles, and people are remixing it and putting their own spin on it. But the principles have not changed from 100, 150 years ago. The principles haven't changed. And I'm just using courses as an example here. But you can apply this to what you do for a living. There were people doing that thing a long time ago, way before the technology made it so convenient and easy for the way that we do it now. And they were still doing it. How were they doing it? You should be curious as to the answer to that question and find out what were they learning, what were they applying that made them able to do it, even though it wasn't convenient for the customer to buy it, at least compared to what we have today. So go back and look into stuff that came out before you came out. It matters and it is relevant. Let me tell you why it's relevant, because a lot of you folks, again, you under 30s and some of you over 30s like to use this term relevant. I hear this term all the time. Oh, this person is relevant. This is relevant. This is not relevant. All right. Relevant means something that could actually help you get to success. Everything is relevant if you know where you're looking and you know what you're looking at. See, some of you don't even know what you're looking at. So you see something, you say, well, that's not relevant. Well, it is relevant. You just don't know what you're looking at. You don't even understand how to use it. So what's not relevant is your frame of reference. So what you need to change is that, not the information. Nothing that exists today is new. Nothing that exists today is new. This that you're listening to right now, we used to call this the radio. All right, especially the way that I do it, we used to call this the radio. All right, those people who have shows where they interview people, every episode there's an interview, we used to call that talk shows. All right, those still exist, but a lot of them have moved to the internet format, audio, video, YouTube, etc. And what I do, the way that I do my thing, they would call this talk radio. That's what I would be. 50 years ago, if I existed doing what I do, I would have my own talk radio show on some AM radio station. That's who I would be, at least in this, with this part of my work. So everything that's out today is just a remix of what has already existed. None of this is new. So any of you who thinks that everything going on today is brand new and none of this existed before, no, it's existed. It just had different formats. We just called it different things. YouTube, that was TV. Now you do it. Now you just watch it all on YouTube. Some of you don't even turn on the TV. You just watch everything through your tablet and your phone or your computer. But that's how we used to watch TV. We used to have cable with 800 channels. It still exists, but many people are migrating towards the internet, right? They call it cord cutting, but it ain't new. None of it's new. And this connects to what I talked about 2 days ago about focusing on less and not more, choosing your sources. Nothing that exists today, no expert, no program, no system, none of it is completely brand new. Now, yes, people put their spins on things. They create their own names and tags and titles and frameworks and all of that stuff, including myself. But none of it is completely brand new that we just thought up out of nowhere. That's not true. They are all based on things that have existed in the past, things that have worked in the past, and we just remix them and, again, create our own version of it. And we put it into today's language and we use today's tools to do it. Again, for example, this show. 50 years ago, I would have been on AM radio and you would have been listening to me while you washed the dishes in the morning or while you were driving to work or while you were doing your workout, i.e. the same way you listen to me now. All they did was change the technology. You get it? This ain't new. Nobody has created anything that's completely brand new. Even if they say it's brand new, they're lying. Right, they're just saying that because new is easier to sell. Cool thing is, folks, they don't have to lie because nobody's going to go back and find the stuff they got their material from anyway. That's the thing. Somebody could come out with something that was out 80 years ago, change the words around a little bit, put their name on it and say this is brand new. And most people will be fooled into thinking that it's actually brand new because most people would not do the work of digging and finding out where they got that from because they didn't just come up with it out of nowhere. Even though, again, a lot of experts will like to make you think that that's how they come up with their material. Not true. The point is, you should not limit yourself to only consuming things that are just new just because they're new and bright and shiny, even though this is the human instinct. We all have shiny object and shiny information syndrome. You just have to fight against it. You got to have the discipline to not just go run into something just because it's new or claiming to be new. Consume things that are relevant to your goals, regardless of when they were published or when they were released. Let me repeat that sentence. Consume things that are relevant to your goals, regardless of when they were published or when they were released. And often, here's a key point, folks. The edge that you can get over your competition is in going where they won't go, which is usually going further backwards because most people are only focused on what's happening right now, right? If all your competition is all looking at the same stuff that's coming out right now, the same three things that everybody else is looking at, how about you go 30, 40, 80 years back and consume the stuff that came out way before all this? You got an edge over the competition because you're doing something that nobody else is doing. And it's simply a discipline. This is not a skill. It's not a talent. It's just discipline. And now I'm telling you about it. You can go do this. Right? The library. Everyone who's listening to me, there's a library in your town. You don't know what a library is? A big building with a whole bunch of books in it that will let you borrow a book for a certain period of time completely for free. And you just bring the book back. You don't get to keep it. You just bring it back. And you can get a library card, which is basically something that keeps track of which books you have and which books you need to bring back so that they don't lose their books. It's called a library. You can go there and you get a library card for, who knows, what's a library card these days? $20, $10. And then you can take out as many books as you want, borrow them, read them, bring them back. So you ain't got to buy the books. Any of you who doesn't have an education budget, and you should. So you can buy them on Amazon, but if you don't, okay, go to the library, get it for free. If you claim hardship, they probably won't even charge you to take the books up. So a lot of stuff that is, so let me back up. The key point here is the thing that you need may come from something that came out 10 years ago or something that came out 50 years ago. A lot of stuff that's being created today, because we have this ease of publishing, ease of creation, is watered down and cheap because it's so easy to create. And this is why I gave you the example earlier of if somebody was selling a course 80 years ago, they could not waste their resources on putting a course out. That course had to actually be good. Their sales letter had to be really good. Their copywriting had to be really good. Their persuasion and influence techniques had to be really good because they sent out those letters. Those letters still cost money in their time. And there was not like you could have an ongoing conversation with the customer. Like, you got that one letter, and whatever you did in that letter either sold it or it didn't. And you had to wait a week until the letters start coming back with the checks in them. Then you had to wait for the check to clear for you to even get your money. You didn't get the money immediately. There was no Cash App. You had to wait a few days to get your money. How good did they have to be? So a lot of stuff that comes out today, because it's so easy to produce, you get a lot of garbage. You get a lot of nonsense because it's so easy. It's low quality, watered down, and cheap. It's made by people who understand that they don't have to go far in depth in order to sell a bright, shiny object to the person who has the attention span of a fucking squirrel. Right? And I've talked about attention spans on the show before. If you want to increase your attention span and you want to be able to pay attention to things for longer, listen to episode number 1040. Attention spans are not as short as you think. And then also episode 848, how to lengthen your own personal attention span. Number 3, today's topic once again is how to deepen your depth of knowledge. Number 3, study, think, and do the work. Ain't no way around this one. There's no shortcutting this. You got to study, you got to think, and you got to do the work. Study means consuming material more than once. So when you were studying for a test in school, you didn't just look through the book one time. You went over it over and over again. Most people are alarmingly lazy and they only skim the surface of anything. Some people buy stuff and only skim the surface of it. Even after they paid for it, they don't even go deep. Don't be like most people. What's the difference between consuming and studying? When you study for a test in school, did that process differ from reading a magazine? Of course it did. How did it differ? You read the material more than once when you were studying, right? You quizzed yourself on it. You repeated it to yourself. You made sure you could say it to yourself without looking at the book. Maybe you used flashcards. Maybe you got a partner to help you and ask you some test questions to make sure you really had the information. You took notes from your lectures and classes. You did the exercises in the book that challenge if you really had retained the information. There's a lot of things you do when you're studying as opposed to simply consuming. You took time thinking about what you were learning in order to make it into actual knowledge, not just something you were holding in your random access memory. This is the work. When I say the work, this is what I mean. People who are experts at what they do, people who have a depth of knowledge, they have done the work and they continue to do it. And some people have never started. And this is a big part of what makes a difference in outcomes for people in their careers and in their business. How deep are you willing to go? And again, going deep does not mean you got to get another 4-year education like college if you already graduated. It just means you do more than an average person does. And I just told you exactly what that is. Let me recap and tell you again. Topic again is how to deepen your depth of knowledge. Number 1, open a fucking book and read it. You read 20 books on any one topic, you'll know more than 98% of the population, even the people who are alleged professionals at that thing. Number two, go further backwards. Learn about things that existed before you came out, before you were even born. You're 30 years old, go back more than 30 years back to people who are talking about the thing that you do professionally before you were born. I guarantee you'll find some jewels in there, some gold in there that most people don't know anything about simply because nobody has the discipline to actually go backwards and do any type of real studying or any real digging just to even find some information that's been around for a long time. Number three, study, think, and do the work. All right, there is no shortcut around this. Most people are alarmingly lazy and they only skim the surface of information even when they pay for information. You know that most courses that get signed up for don't get completed past module 2. Most books that get bought are bought as gifts. They're not bought as like for personal use. And most books that get purchased, regardless of who purchased them and why, never get read past the first chapter. That is a fact. And most people just skim the surface. So if you could just stop doing what most people do, anytime I tell you something that most people do the opposite of that, and there's your opportunity. Again, told you in episode number 1025, the opportunity is always in the opposites. Text me, see you in my text community. My number is 305-384-6894. Work on your game university. You're ready to go deep when it comes to your game, when it comes to your success, your outcomes, your finances, your results, your discipline, your mindset. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can see all the details of what we're doing and how it works. Schedule a time to get on a call with us, and we take it from there. Work on your game. Dre, all